Hey, this is Wakia. Well, I want to say unequivocally that this might be the closest time we've ever come to nuclear war. We came pretty close back in the Cuban Missile Crisis era. I think this is more dicey than then, and back then we were holding our breath. So, if that gives you any idea how close we are to nuclear war, then maybe I better talk about some other things regarding that. Let's take airplanes. I'm a pilot. I've been a pilot for a long time, flight instructor, got all my ratings. When you got aircraft flying around the borders, both sides, flying around the borders in the air defense zones, or there's restricted areas, there's all kinds of air defense zones, there's, the limit of how close you can fly to another country, and that's pretty close, actually. When you can fly in the Gulf of Mexico and just outside the East Coast in California, that's close. Practically, if you had a set of binoculars, you could probably see them. Submarines, too. I think that the strategy that the West is using should be revealed. It really should be just said for what it is. And I'm going to say it right now. They reverse everything. The media, the West, they've done. People, you should really listen to this if you're not aware. You should pass this on to people that might not be aware that there's an inverse demonology going on here. An inverse demonology. In other words, they're demonizing Russia when it's really the demons are the West, America. Okay? They're making everything look just the opposite of what it actually is. It's an inverse, or it's a mirror, you could call it a mirror demonology, where they reflect or project exactly what they're doing on somebody else. Okay? Let's get this straight about Crimea and why supposedly the West is attacking Russia and has done a lot of different things. Crimea, okay? Naval seaport for Russia, the Black Seaport, Black Sea naval port, warm water has to be there, okay? Now, the whole deal with that is that the USA thought somehow they were going to go in there and make that their NATO base. And Russia saw this, and so they said, no way, Jose, that's our main strategic base. Now, because of this, the Obama administration orchestrated a coup. And that coup was set up in Kiev using all kinds of forces, covert action, and installing another regime that was favorable to them. And let me just mention here, Joe Biden's son is firmly entrenched. Even Biden went over there. That's the vice president of this United States. And they have fracking interests, okay? And they look at Eurasia, and they look at Russia, and they look at all these areas, the West does, as land. Land for fracking, land for oil, land for taking over oil. Just like they took over oil in Iraq, and why they wanted to go into Iraq was to take the oil fields. Hello? And get near, it's all about pipelines, what's going on with the oil right now. That's done purposely, probably cooked up by the Saudis. I'm really looking into this, but it's probably, you wouldn't think so, because it hurts the fracking industry in the United States. But they might be willing to sacrifice a little bit of fracking to try to bring down a nation like Russia, which they will never do, by reducing the oil. and hurting the ruble. That's why I say we're close to nuclear war. Now, yes, Russia might be getting hurt financially in the short term. But here's China come in today, said, Russia's okay. They'll make it through this financially. Well, what kind of message is that saying? That's saying China's got their back. That's what it's saying. Now you got this thing with North Korea popping up and that stupid freaking, if you look 2-3 videos ago, you'll see I called this one like right on the money. As soon as it came out, I spotted it. Because I know about NLP and I know about brainwashing and I know what these assholes are doing. They're demonizing people, and they're, God help them if they think that they might have to attack North Korea somehow to take the attention away from Russia or whatever. Who knows how these loony bins think? Who knows how they think? But I can definitely see it as either a major distraction, which I said it was in the first place. It's Looney Tunes. Or they're going to do something to Korea. They ain't going to do nothing to Korea. What are they going to do to Korea? Attack them? God help us, if that happens. I can say one thing, that the reason that I think that we're on the red line here. You know what the red line is in an auto that is a racing car or a racing airplane, or in the Reno air races, you got the red line when you're full bore, throttle, full forward, pedal to the metal. You got a red line that you don't go past. If you do, things start breaking up, wings start flying off. They're pretty close to that red line. And the other thing, again, pilots are flying around in airplanes. They got enough to handle just flying the airplane, okay? Although they pretty much fly themselves, but just their concentration as far as how far out they are from the limits that they can go. That's not always easy. Circumnavigation and radio beams and stuff screw up, okay? True north is off anyway on the compass to begin with from magnetic north, so you got a variance right there. There's other faux pas that could occur when flying an aircraft. Then you got who's flying that aircraft, and do they have the authority to hit that little button on the throttle, the little red button, and launch a limited nuclear weapon? And if they get an okay to do that, and then somebody decides, oh, wait a minute, it's not okay, that was a mistake. Once you fire that baby, it ain't no calling it back. There ain't no calling a missile back once you fire it. You could shoot it down, maybe. I wouldn't count on it, though. And even if it was shot down, it would spray shit all over the place. And everybody would know about it. We're close, people, to a nuclear holocaust, and the Hopi talked about it. The Hopi said the gourd of ashes. Okay, the gourd of ashes is nuclear power. And we seem to be having problems with that, don't we? Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, long time ago. Nobody remembers that. I remember it. Hanford, Alamos, New Mexico, Alamogordo. Uh, that whole area, accidents up there, accidents by the Columbia River. So we got all that contaminating our atmosphere, but then that might be irrelevant if somebody hits that little, on the throttle as you're turning the aircraft, or you flip that little yellow and striped up, okay, and there's the little button there, or the little switch, okay, or voice command. Fire right, missile from right wing, or fire, fire one, fire two. I'm telling you, I don't care about people arguing and, oh, well, it could go that far or it couldn't go that far. I'm talking about making a mistake. Hello? I'm talking about the possibility of a very big mistake. One you can't take back. That's where we're at. Right now, as I speak. Merry Christmas. So, it's irrelevant about what we think about, well, whether Russia would go that far or whether the West would go that far. They've gone way past the red line. They're balls to the wall now, baby. So if you think, well, would they go that far? I'd wake up if I were you and realize that they've already gone that far. We're living on borrowed time. We're living on grace. In my book, the way I'm looking at it, it's a wonder we haven't vaporized everybody on the friggin' planet already. Nuclear war is not a pretty picture. You ever seen any pictures of just the bombing of Hiroshima and the radiation sickness that followed that and the just complete vaporization of people where they stood? And I'm not talking about just what happens in the moment wherever that blast goes off. As you look and see a big mushroom cloud on the horizon with all kinds of beautiful colors around it, wait till the wave hits you. And then if you're not in the direct path, you got the fallout all around the world afterwards, and a nuclear winter. Little particles in the air change other little particles, and next thing you know, you got no more sun. It's all clouds all the time, permeated with radiation yet. Nuclear winter. Do you know what that is? That's slow death. See, that just shows you the craziness of even considering or even talking about these people even talking about using a nuclear deterrent. I mean, we had the treaties back in the 60s and 70s that limited armament, that limited any thought of anybody even talking about that. They didn't even like to talk about it because if one side started it, they knew that was it. Do you know how many nuclear weapons there are around the world? I mean, I don't even want to research it, but I'm sure we have hundreds of thousands. Small ones, big ones. China has them. China. Okay, Pakistan, Pakistan, friends with the Taliban, friends with Afghanistan, India, North Korea, all of just a whole bunch of Israel, everybody you can think of has nuclear weapons. Don't you think we've been lucky so far in that with all the tips of balance going on here, with one faction fighting another, Israel, and the Palestinian problem, and then you got Iran in the mix, and then you got this person, Hezbollah, and you got all these different things in the mix here. Okay, some just have rockets, but the guys that are being fired at Israel, who tend to antagonize people to get fired at, they got nukes. They're constantly threatening people. There's a lot of countries with nukes, and there's supposedly a lot of suitcase nukes that disappeared after the fall of the Soviet Union. Not the Russians, the Soviet Union. People don't realize the Soviet Union was not the Russian Federation. It was the Soviet Union, socialist republics, of which Ukraine and all that was kind of the same territory, if not the same. Khrushchev gave part of the Ukraine away as a gift, okay, for independent reasons. Not that they really wanted to be given away. Nobody knew. They just, these heads of state do shit, and then later on it. But Crimea was never, it was always a, Black Sea naval base for the Russian fleet. Period, end of story. And they had 25,000 troops there by permission. So, Putin didn't have a choice with that. And so again, they're making him out, they're demonizing, demonology, calling him Hitler. That's a low blow. Hillary Clinton called him Hitler. If there was any woman Hitler or woman evil dark person, it's her. It's her. If you knew half the shit I know about her. Another ace card that I wanted to bring up here. Ace in the hole for Russia. Can we spell Snowden? Did we forget about Edward Snowden being over there? Wonder what he knows, really. Wonder what else he knows that they didn't release. Okay. They know something about Edward Snowden, or what Edward Snowden knows. Or they know something about Edward Snowden that we don't know. Okay. Now, whether they can use that little ace in the hole, we don't know. We don't know. How about somehow hacking into our missile defense system? Oh, but they claim, people say, oh, that could never happen. Oh, but they're claiming that North Korea just hacked into the big database, and that they're so sophisticated hackers that they can get in there. So why couldn't, sophisticated Russian hackers and, people like Snowden and the group he knows? What about Julian Assange? He's the world's greatest hacker. And he might not be now, but he knows who they are. There's whole organizations that come in and hack all at once. They do a mass attack on something, okay, and they shut it down. They overwhelm the system. And then they hack into it after that. Think they can't be done with our missile defense system, maybe? We're walking on thin ice here, people. We're at the red line with nuclear war. We're at the line in the sand, basically. Do we have enough sense as mankind to... That's the question. Is there any sanity out there at all? Or is all this just a big fear tactic orchestrated by all the nations of the world? Don't think it. That's... I don't know. You'd have to get everybody on the same page. You know how hard it is to get everybody on the same page? Even when you're trying. Even when you put together a team or a coalition or anything, to get people on the same page is not easy. Not unless you got them blackmailed, okay, or bought off. But I don't care how many people you buy off. It's like the Old West, It's like 2 guys go in and rob a bank, or 3 guys go in and rob a bank, right? You listen to this analogy now. And one of them gets wounded in the process. This is the Old West, and they go out and they're camping there, and the guy's bleeding. And the other 2 people are looking at him like, he could hold us up. He could drag us down. We better. And they put a bullet in his head. Take everything he has, take his share, take his guns, everything. Then if there's just 2 guys, even if there's just 2 guys and they're buddies and they just made a big score, you don't think one of them, if they're both armed, is thinking about, if I had his half, I could live more comfortably. I could go here or there and I could get this and that. It's greed, people. It's greed. Never satisfied with enough. That's what it's all based on. Okay. Land. And it's kind of getting to the point now, the way I see it, is that if one side or one Western culture or the BRICS nation or this nation or that nation either doesn't have control or loses control, they're going to want to get it back, or they're not going to want to relinquish it in the first place. Now, financial wars are definitely happening. Oil wars, the oil prices going down to what? Are you kidding me? Then you go into the store and you see prices of food gone way up, way up. So the disparity there. It should be cheaper to ship stuff. I'll get it out. Cheaper to ship stuff if the oil's going down. Truckers will get back in business. It's an illusion, people. It's a ploy. It's a financial war. It's a golden Armageddon, gold and silver and finances and all this stuff. It's a war. Okay, but the thing with that war is it bleeds over into people getting pissed off. It's just like at a poker game. I'm going to use the Old West as another analogy. You got these guys sitting there playing poker, right? One guy's losing and the other guy's winning. Happened many, many times. Ask Doc Holliday. Because some people knew how to play. It was a skill game, poker. But if you see if you see your pot dwindling and you see somebody else's pot expanding, then you become suspicious. Then you start making accusations. Next thing you know, like Doc Holliday, he's skinning his firearm and taking care of business. Okay, if anybody puts a challenge up to them. Same thing is happening now. Same thing's happening. Skin that baby. That's what's happening, people. And skinning that firearm is equivalent to, metaphorically, the nuke. Okay. So you need to think about this stuff, or not think about it at all. You got two choices: think about it or not think about it. Guess it doesn't do a whole lot good to worry about it. You can't worry either. There's nothing you can do about it, really. Detach from it probably is the best thing. But I just thought people should know. I mean, we talk about a lot of the little stuff going on underneath, and I was talking about the big picture. I'm seeing more and more the big picture. The big picture is, forget about all this jive shit they're doing. That's just crazy in itself. Let's say it was orchestrated. That would just be totally crazy. But it's not. I mean, some of it's orchestrated, half of it's orchestrated, and half of it is... what's the word I'm looking for? Well, you had the cattle barons and you had the free rangers, people that were open range. They didn't get along. One of them liked fences, the other didn't. And that's kind of like what it's like now. You got Russia and China with wanting their ideology. These people don't sell themselves down the river too easily, I don't think. But whatever they're doing, it doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make here is that things could go wrong. We know they're flying the aircraft up there. We know even if that's just a game they're playing. Believe me, those games, like I said before, one time a Chinese MiG came right in over a spy aircraft flying. This happened a while ago. It did a barrel roll upside down and came down to their cockpit, which was right here, looking down in their face at them, something like you'd see in a movie, and then whoosh, one, bam, they're out of there. Scared the shit out of those people in the spy plane, let me tell you. That's like a bat out of hell coming in to check your ass out and maybe wax your ass, okay, with a heat seeker. Oops. If they can come in that close and do stuff like that, I've seen aerobatics go awry, let alone coming in on it like a cowboy and hot dogging in there like that. That's the kind of stuff that can go wrong. It's kind of funny, isn't it? You think about it. Yeah, he did a barrel roll in there, right down there. Aviation, I mean, pilots are a different breed. We laugh about shit like that. We're pretty morbid, I guess, on some levels. Pilots are a different breed, you know. I won't even go there. Some of the stuff that I heard my fellow pilots say, airline pilots, they're party animals. These people up there flying those airplanes and flying the commercial jets and flying the big bombers, those people are partying. They party their ass off. Okay. They drink, and if they're not doing they're drinking pretty heavily. That's allowed. They got a bar right on base. This is what you want to trust your life to. I mean, yeah, you know, I like pilots. They're cool, but I know them too well because I am one. They push the envelope, baby, sometimes. It's like, yeah, let's see how far we can get away with this little maneuver. They've done it in commercial airliners even, you know? There was a famous incident once where, you know, this dude, I think they called him Cowboy or something too, now that I think about it, Hoot something or other, or I can't remember his name now. This is a true story. They were sitting in these two pilots were sitting in a cockpit, commercial jet, full bores, trying to see how fast how many knots they could get out of the baby. This one guy goes, well, let's put the flaps down a little bit. Well, you don't put flaps down after a certain speed, okay? That's called the V speeds, okay? VX, VL, all this stuff, okay? There's certain knots you don't put the flaps down or they can rip right off. But this guy goes, well, if we just edge it in there just a little bit, we might pick up a few knots. Let's try it. So they put on a little leading edge or trailing edge flaps. I forget what it was. And it was a big aircraft, 727 or something like that. And it flipped. It went into a nosedive. It went into a spin. It turned upside down. People were hitting the ceiling. It lost about, it could have been at 35,000 feet. It lost about 20,000 before it recovered. It's kind of like that movie with Denzel where he turns the thing upside down. That was close to an actual incident too. So what I'm saying here is that if you think that, you know, all is hunky-dory with the aircraft that these people are flying nukes in, if you think that nothing can go wrong, think again. Think again. Half of these, and I know a lot of them, half of these yahoos out there in aviation and the military they think they're Top Gun and they ain't, some of them. Anyway, so that's it, folks. Hope that was entertaining. I didn't mean it to be entertaining necessarily as eye-opening. I use parables. Use parables like stories to show you the urgency of the situation, regardless of what's going on in the news. Screw the news. It's on the edge shit all the time. It's on the edge. And if the news is on the edge and you can't figure it out, you got to go beyond the news and look at the big picture. It's screwed up right now, and anything could happen. I don't really know how we've gotten this far, to be truthful with you, with the nuclear capability and all the weapons and all the countries and all the shenanigans and all the backbiting and spying and arguing with one another and everybody having those nuclear weapons. Do you see how we got this far? Because I sure don't. Maybe somebody does have our back. Maybe somebody does have our back. Let's hope so. Have a good Christmas. Don't think about this video, though. Or when you have Christmas, think about, you know what really gets me? What really gets me is, you just thought I was going to leave too, didn't you? What really gets me is the little things that pop up on Google that say, "'Tis the time of year." And I'll leave you with this thought: forgiving and loving and peace, okay, and love and giving and cheer and all that. 'Tis the time, 'tis the season, 'tis the time of the year. That's the problem. Think about it. 'Tis the time of the year. Shouldn't this be something that we feel all the time? Not just around a certain seasonal time when all the media has us geared towards gifting and giving, and 'tis the season, 'tis the season to give them money. Think about that. Think about if you really want to celebrate a divinity, celebrate your Christ consciousness within you. And Yeshua, if you want to, but think about Yeshua, okay, and the birth and death of Yeshua and what that could mean on all kinds of levels, metaphorically, everything. Look at the big picture with that. What does this have to do? What does any of this have to do? 'Tis the season. So I look at that and I go, this is the only season we should give. Or this is the only day that we should be thankful on Thanksgiving. Or this is the only day that we honor vets. Or this is the only day that we... If you have reverence for everything, you honor all people all the time, give to people all the time, have everybody's back all the time. Okay? So, I'm going to do a wing over. That's a pilot's term. A wing over. Think about it. Look it up. And fly the hell out of here. Adios. Walk the red road and have a good season.